Welcome to Properties. This is the base level of data that we collect about visitors coming to your site to ultimately form their visitor profile. Let's cover four main topics: how properties sync to outside integrations, the groups of properties that we have in Justuno. Then let's talk about system versus user properties and what read-only properties mean for you. And then finally, we'll look into creating our own properties. Now, there are a few different ways that we collect data. There's zero-party data, which is input by the user itself and comes in forms, for example, email address or first name. And there's first-party data that we collect about their purchases, the amount of time they spend on a site, and so on and so forth. First, let's talk about how properties are synced. Now, when you connect an app through Justuno, your properties can automatically be synced to the corresponding properties in that app. You see with this Klaviyo example here, we have property sync turned on and we have a list of corresponding properties and or fields that Justuno can automatically pass over to Klaviyo. Now in the workflow builder, you sync Klaviyo to a form promotion to subscribe a new email address or SMS phone number to a specific list. Although the property sync outside of that is happening at all times and constantly. So when we sync properties, we do so when we actually authenticate the third-party app. And then within the workflow builder, we can actually identify a list that we want to subscribe contact information to. Next, let's take a look at the groups of our profile properties. First, there's the profile information, which might include email address, phone number, interests, things like that. Then we have source profile information, which includes their original source URL and landing pages. Then we have location data, which is pretty self-explanatory. It talks about where this user is, where they're coming from, and if they've input any information related to where they're located in the world. Communication might include marketing preferences and when they were last sent an SMS or an email. And purchases is related to commerce behavior of this visitor. What did they purchase? When did they purchase? And what's their AOV? Things of that nature. Finally, we have other, and this is basically uncategorized profile properties, a lot of times created by the users themselves. Next, let's talk about property types. All the properties that you see when you sign into your account will be system-generated properties, as they were made by Justuno and in a lot of cases are automated, such as their total number of visits or the last discount code they saw. The other type of property is user-generated, which is made by you. And those can be many different things and you can create them on your own. Now, both types of properties can be read-only or editable. What we mean by that is that they cannot be altered and they are not selections made by an end user. They are automatically generated. We'll cover that when we create our own properties next. Now, if you're on a flex plan or higher, you have the ability to create your own user properties. And you can create them with any input type that you want, including radio buttons, single select, drop down, long text, really anything you can imagine. So let's create one using a radio button. I'm going to give this a title of interests. And once we give it a name, we'll be taken to the editing area where we can determine if it should be required or if it's read-only. It is neither of those, so I'm going to put it in the group of profile information and I'm going to leave both of those boxes unchecked. So my first input value will be pants, and then I'll add another one that says shirts, and then a third that says shoes. Now, you can add or remove as many values as you'd like. You can rearrange them. And then finally, once you're done, go ahead and preview this to make sure that this is exactly what you're looking for and as you want it to appear within your Justuno designs. After that, go ahead and save it. And now you've created a property. To recap, we've talked about syncing properties with outside integrations. We have covered the groups of properties. We've seen what system versus user-generated properties look like and how they can be read-only or have inputs by the end user. And lastly, we created our own radio button property for interests.